thing we're doing is we're updating the label input paired just be specifically told, hey, you need to be connected. So the way you connect them is each bit has a specific, you give it the ID. The ID, that value, here's the rules. It has to be lowercase, no spaces, you have to use dashes, and then it should be meaningful and descriptive, right? So my example here is very generic. So it's hard to have a meaningful and descriptive ID, but let's go in there and see about adding some in. Oh, I've got to reset this here. All right, so I've got this one done. And you'll notice this one actually isn't inside a form, and because we're not activating it, that's fine. But generally, you would need it inside a form. Let's look at this code. So here's my label input pair, and you can tell if it's connected or not by clicking on the gray of the website, right? So if I click on the gray content, it puts my cursor inside that input box. If I click on first name and last name, none of these are connected, so they're not working, right? If the ID value, if that was somewhere else, so I'll put it down at this for the preferred name. For the preferred name, if that input had ID equals value, now when I click on the content, right? Did I not switch the other one? Oh, refresh. Oh, I didn't. Okay. So now when I click on content, refresh. So I click on content and it's jumping down and putting me in that preferred name because that's where the ID value is. I'm gonna go ahead and put that back. And then for the preferred name, so I've got the ID and then the label for preferred name, that's where I'm putting the for, right? I need to know what the label is for. So now that I have my for and my ID, I'll do control, click inside the second one, and now I can type that thing at the same time. And it has to be at the same time, this value, otherwise it won't work. So meaningful and descriptive for the preferred name would be something like preferred dash name. Now when I refresh, preferred name goes to preferred name. Middle doesn't work yet, last doesn't work yet, because you have to do each label and input pair needs to be connected with this for, the label is for, the ID and the input. The other thing that you should do, I've made this validate page button. And what's cool about this is you don't have to update the code because this is JavaScript, which you don't get to learn about in this class. But here's this script down here. So this is using a button, which is a form input, but the button is programmed when you click on it to validate the page. So I click validate source, takes me over to the checker, the source is checked, and then it wants the language attribute and the head is missing a required child element. So what that means is if you look at your documents, the head should always have a title in it, right? So if I open my page in a new tab right now, let's zoom in here. Right, my tab doesn't have a name; it just has the full address, which is not what you're supposed to do. So we need to update the code. So open the head, we're going to add a title. And then the HTML wants that language attribute. Language equals quote en. Make sure you have the quotes. Click save. If I go here, refresh. Now it's mad because I have the title, but it's empty, which doesn't do it any good, right? So if I go look at my tab, the name on the tab is still the same. So back to the code in the title, label. I know it rhymes with table, but it doesn't spell the same way. So save, refresh. Now it says label up here. And if I recheck my code, now everything's good. Now it doesn't flag that you haven't connected the for and the ID. So the way you check that, other than just looking at the code itself, is if you click the gray, it should go into its box. First name, so first name isn't connected. Last name's not. Middle name isn't. Preferred is, right? They should all be connected. Validator should be good. And then on to the next one.